And so I thought, well, if the end is close and there's a change in nature, I felt if there was ever a time to share this with the world, this is the time now, so that people can prepare. Because the greatest preparation isn't a physical preparation, it's a spiritual, emotional preparation for the change in the world.
In this episode of Insights at the Edge, my guest is Jasper Young Bear, whose Indian name is Red-Headed Woodpecker. Jasper is a member of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation and lives on Fort Berthold Indian Reservation in North Dakota. He's from the Hidatsa Waterbuster clan on his father's side and the Arikara Bear Society and Arikara Medicine Lodge on his mother's side. Jasper is the founder of the Medicine Lodge Confederacy, as well as the Running Wolf Wellness Center and Cultural Survival School. I have to say I feel deeply honored to have Jasper Young Bear as a guest on Insights at the Edge. He's the storyteller and wisdom teacher who's featured in what is being described as a medicine film, along with a 4-part audio series in which he shares the creation story that he was taught through the oral traditions of his lineage. You can learn more and you can watch the film and listen to the audio series at no charge at thecreationstory.co. Jasper Young Bear, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I am honored. It's good to be here with you, and such a powerful topic that we're going to discuss.
Let's get right into it. You chose to record your people's creation story because you believe, in your own words, that this is an urgent and pertinent hour to share these sacred oral teachings. Tell me more.
Well, I grew up on the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation. My life was pretty much shaped very much like most people's lives on the Indian reservations. There was a lot of the social issues, a lot of the dynamics that take place on the reservation demand that you either fall in line with the social issues or you develop your spirituality. And, I got into this not because I was trying to um, aggrandize myself, but more or less to save myself from the issues. I went through abuses, um, sexual abuse, physical abuse, poverty, all those types of things. And when I looked around at my own people, I seen them in dire need because many were dying because of the lack of knowledge of self. And, as I got older, I left the reservation. I went out into the world. And I seen that a lot of people weren't grounded in their spirituality. There was really no practices. And we have a lot of practices that we have as Indigenous people that have worked for eons and millenniums. And I developed my compassion for other people because I could feel them. And it was really a heart-based decision. It wasn't of my mind. My mind normally would tell me, save these things, keep these things to yourself, keep them amongst our people. But there's a part of the video, the movie, the audio that talks about the unity of mankind and the need for human beings to unify under the tree of life, as prophesized in the Hopi prophecy rock. And the Hopis are a very instrumental, critical tribe to the tribes of Turtle Island, or North America, as they call it in English. And I thought about things like the seven fire prophecies of the Anishinaabe or the Chippewas that talk about a time of unity. And many other tribes talk about this. And so I thought, well, if the end is close and there's a change in nature, I witnessed the tornadoes, the hurricanes, the earthquakes, the volcanoes that were prophesized. And I felt if there was ever a time to share this with the world, this is the time now, so that people can prepare. Because the greatest preparation isn't a physical preparation, it's a spiritual, emotional preparation for the change in the world. The rift that was prophesized in Hopi Prophecy Rock is happening as we speak. And nature is changing. Our gardening cycles are changing. Our ceremonial cycles have been influenced by that. And I just thought it would be a good idea to leave it not only for the posterity of my people and my family, but to offer it to the world. And I'm not trying to make money off of it. I just want to offer it to people to give them a perspective. If they're seeking the creator, maybe this could be an instrument, a tool for them to um, to elucidate on the subtleties and complexities of the natural world, and that's directly connected to the spiritual world. And the prophecies do say that we need to spiritually help each other and unify as a human family. And I thought I just chose it. This is the time where I think, and it was not without context. So Thomas Binyaka and the Hopi people, Thomas Binyaka was the um, leader, the spokesman for the Hopi prophecies. And he was selected by the ceremonial leaders to do that for his people in the 1940s. So, and they gave way more information than I'm giving. And I thought, well, I want to help this process. I want to um, encourage people to look deeper into our collective unity and what we're doing to the planet, to the elements, the earth, wind, water, fire, um, and to address the lack of continuity in our relationship with nature itself.
Can you tell me more about what specific prophecies you received that you feel are important to share at this time to help people see and understand what's happening?
So I was an apprentice to a spiritual leader, a cultural leader. You might even say a medicine man who was practiced in the Lakota culture. And one of the prophecies that came through that I really found poignant was the prophecy around the seventh generation. And one of the prophecies that they had talked about was that when we had moved to the Indian reservations, the for those that don't know the history, most of the Northern Plains tribes weren't defeated in war. The the 30 to 60 million bison that were wiped out, they had their own genocide. We were very connected to them, and that's what moved us to the reservations. And during that time, our people collectively were at a loss in the Northern Plains. And so what happened was, during that time they had a ceremony. They had ceremonies to ask the spirits and the ancestors what's going to become of us, and hoping that we would have a good answer. But they didn't have a good answer. They said you will suffer for 6 generations, and but a seventh generation is promised. That in the seventh generation, that Tunkashla Wakantanka, the creator, would send into the wombs of the Indian women elevated souls. These elevated souls will be born with knowledge and power that no one else has, and they will begin to rebuild the sacred hoop of life. And that as they begin to rebuild that hoop, it would take generations to rebuild it. But during that time, unity and harmony and balance with nature would reestablish itself. And that's exactly what we're in right now. We're in the seventh generation. The eighth generation's been born. There's an explosion of spirituality in the northern plains. And there was another prophecy that's connected to that, and that's the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. And the eagle is represented is the symbol of the northern plains tribes and a lot of the tribes in the north, and that our relatives in the south, their symbol is the condor, and that there would be a time where north and south would reunite. The 70 million Mexicanos and Chicanos, the 11 million undocumented Mexicanos and Chicanos, as well as the tribal people, they would begin to unify. And that's been happening for a generation. And so we're sharing ceremonies, we're sharing understanding, and we're inviting the whole human family to sit at the table. And in order to really sit there and be educated, you really do have to study nature. And our people say that nature always has the last say. Um, some of the some of the prophecies are somewhat unsavory, meaning if we don't pay attention, there could be suffering. And this whole um, film, this audio series, is to soften the blow to whatever degree we can soften it for the people. Um, and that brings into a whole other context the hegemony and the genocide that's taken place and has been an ongoing genocide in our own homelands. And, I don't want to get into those nuances, but I think it's important that we look at that truthfully. And a part of what Hopi Prophecy Rock says is that all the misdeeds of the federal government will fall upon the people that have perpetrated them. And it's with great compassion that we offer this to the world, not to aggrandize ourselves or make money, but to allow people to make better decisions, and specifically the leaders of the state, the tribal governments, the federal government, municipalities, for them to make better decisions with how they deal with the land and the people um, of the land. And in our language in Hidatsa, they call it the Awa'a Gurukpaga, the people of the earth, the Indian people. We have been suffering for these many generations, and we know what can potentially happen. So we want everybody to come together under the tree of life, under the divine laws of nature, and that's what you're seeing now in 2026 is the falling apart of the empire. And for people to understand that nature always has the last say, that the creator has always been with us, and to give people hope, a hope that's based in reality, that's based in nature, that's based in millenniums and eons of sacred knowledge being passed from one generation to the next. And so, hopefully whatever attempts we're doing will spiritually um, soften the blow for the human family, so that we'll rise. One of the prophecies that I don't mention too much, but there would be a lake of fire that forms at the confluence of the Madison, the Missouri, and Yellowstone rivers in Montana. It won't be right in the Yellowstone. It'll be some miles away. But a lake of fire is prophesied to form there. That the red man will meet the blue man at the lake of fire, and the Indian people will rise. And that's happening as we speak.
Can you explain to me how that's happening as we speak? I'm not clear on that.
Yeah, the seismic activity that's happening in and around the Yellowstone. If you look at the animals that are running out of the Yellowstone park, um, the changes in the timing of the seismic activity, or like of Old Faithful, the geysers, I should say, that blow every 45 minutes. Now they're not on the cycle, and in the ground itself is becoming unstable, and that's in cohesion with a lot of other seismic activity all over the world, specifically the Pacific Rim.
Jasper, as I'm listening to you and I'm hearing your emphasis, and you are a member of this seventh generation, a new generation here to help us restore the sacred hoop of life, I notice I'm feeling quite hopeful, and that this is in contrast to the destruction I see all around me that I often don't feel hopeful. And I wonder if you can say more about our passage to the restoration of the sacred hoop of life and how you see that occurring.
Well, part of it is that the unnatural systems that were implemented upon the human family were not of our making. They were not of, for instance, most Americans don't see, most white Americans don't see themselves as the defeated tribes of Europe. They have totally lost their spiritual connection to their ceremonies, to their sacred names, to their land. They don't remember. And in some ways, that makes them very pitiful. Many of our Black brothers and sisters have forgotten their African roots. Our Asian brothers and sisters live very similarly, and the Indian people have this understanding that the time that's coming, yes, just as in any purification, the purification of the earth will take place on Turtle Island. And at that time, when the unnatural systems fall, when the dark powers and the dark ceremonies fall, there will be a vacuum, but the Creator abhors a vacuum. So we want to fill that with sacred knowledge. We want to fill that with meaning, not the existential nihilism that most people are plunged into, where life doesn't have meaning. Life in nature always has meaning. And that within each one of us is a silo of sacred knowledge of the ancestors, of the elements, of the fire, the earth, the wind, the water, the Rawa Nutku, the fifth element, the consciousness, people might call it, the spirit, and the feminine divine. You know, it's been prophesized also that the Indian women would lead this. And 25 years ago, I really encouraged a lot of my female relatives to stand up and take their rightful place as leaders, as thought leaders, as ceremonial and cultural leaders. I think that's really important because the world is unbalanced because it's so patriarchal, it's so linear. It's about facts. It's about cost rewards analysis. But spirituality is about being. That being means something. That every one of our thoughts, feelings, actions, and words, everything has meaning. And it's coming from somewhere deep within us. And we just have to look within. And our ceremonies are based upon that, looking within and seeing yourself as a sacred center. Because there's a lot of things about metaphysics that's built in and integrated into Native American languages. Four of the five most complex languages in the world are Native Americans languages, and one African language. So within these languages, it's a technology. It's the way people perceive technology. Our ceremonies are technology. Our sweat lodges are technology. Our sacred instruments are technology. Our language is technology. And that through this language, we still have, and it this is the other thing, is people don't understand and have never understood. Mainstream America has never understood the sacredness of the Indian people. That we have carried on supernatural ceremonies. And I could never explain it to people. You'd have to see it for yourself. And I don't think that this is the time to show the world that part, but it's a time to plant seeds for that to take place, maybe in the next generation, the next 20 years, where people could say there really is a creator. There really is supernatural power out there. There's real magic. And the last ones to hold it on this land is the Awa'agurukbaga, the Indian people. And I won't say too much more about it because it's a little unbelievable what the Indian people are capable of.
There is one thing I wanted to ask you about because you do talk about it, which is your connection and the connection of your people to stars and that relationship with the beings of stars, and how that might be something I'd love to know more, might actually be accessible and useful to many of us.
Well, a part of it is that people talk about UFOs, extraterrestrials, that type of thing. They really like to do that, and the stars never left. People, they were distracted by the dark power, by materialism, by a lot of those things came from the stars, from the planets, specifically Saturn. And, Saturn inhibited spiritual practice and promoted materialism. But now, if you look, Saturn's rings are melting. That's not an accident. And most people don't even know that Saturn's rings are melting.
I didn't know that. I'd love to know. Tell me more about that.
Well, part of it is that there's most of the Abrahamic religions are based upon Saturn. Um, Rome was originally called Saturnia. Whenever you see a cube, and I don't know how much I should say because it might offend people because basically that which came across the ocean on the ships brought a dark power and evil to this land. Hence slavery, hence genocide, hence making evil fair seeming. It has the ability to affect the way your senses work. And even on a genetic level, epigenetic level, there's a reason why we've never assimilated. And we have ancestors from the stars. One of the things most people don't know is that, our black brothers and sisters are almost 100% Homo sapien. That's 300,000 years old. That the rest of us, the Asian, yellow brothers and sisters, the white brothers and sisters, and the red man of North and South America, we have admixtures of Denisovan and Neanderthal blood. And those are older species of human beings, anywhere from 400 to 500,000 years old. But the Native Americans have two ghost ancestors that have never been found. And those are the star people. And that's why we're connected to the stars. And we have the ability to pull that power from above. If you really want to have power, you have to study the stars and not the modern zodiac teachings. But, and those are good. I don't got a problem with those. I learn about them. But really about the creation stories explain it. The significance of the morning star, the evening star, the North Star, and many other stars. There's actually stories in the sky. And if you look at them, you know, we have a lot of teachings about them. And they explain the phenomenon upon the earth. And so when things happen on the earth, they're connected up there. And if you know what's happening up there, you know what's happening down here. Um, and right now we're in March and April. Usually around February, March. I won't go into the star knowledge, but there's spring. What's happening right now? The spring has started. That is a time that is coincides with many things that are happening in the stars, with the Big Dipper, with another constellation that brings that what they call cabin fever to people, where they get short tempered and like that. And we have practices around that that help us to find balance with it. And when I look at the star people, You everything that's outside of you externally, everything external is male. The deep internal stuff is feminine. This is why we fast. This is why we make sacrifices in our ceremonies so that we can embody that internal knowledge and that we can interact with the external and internal. That we're actually constantly receiving messages from above and constantly sending messages to them. And 3 Eye Atlas came here, and people are making a lot of conjecture about it. But that didn't happen by accident either, specifically at this time. And in a very short time, within the next couple of years, the whole world will change. And we need to help prepare the human family for that time. As the Native Americans rise in our sacred knowledge, as we bring ourselves together and teach our young people and perform the ceremonies, that's one of the things that we can help with the rest of the human family, because most of them are cut off. Our Black brothers and sisters are cut off from the sacred knowledge that was their birthright, that slavery took away. The white people on this land, they seem to be very wealthy and powerful. And if we can, we're gonna soften the blow, because they haven't listened. They haven't listened to what the Indian people were saying. And the really powerful people, rich people, billionaire people, everything is about materialism, and they're gonna find out they can't eat their money. Food will be the new gold. Clean water will be the new gold. And I don't want to talk negative. If we pay attention now, we can change it. And that's one of the things about ceremonies, is that we use them to solve problems. We use them to get information that we could never get, you know. And we go into the spirit world and we see what's happening and what's been happening. You know, the things that are happening now in America with these certain files, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about. It's casting aspersions upon the leadership of America, but that those aspersions are real, and they've been happening since the beginning. And the people that are really in power need to smarten up, because they're leading their people. They're trying to keep their people in a burning house. And I use that as a metaphor, because Martin Luther King, before he passed away or he was assassinated, he talked to Malcolm X, and he said, "I might have made a mistake. I might have brought my people into a burning house," because he's seen it burning back then, and we see it burning. And the purification, here's the positive part. The positive part is, if we pay attention, we unify, we have a heart and mind for each other. We go on our healing journeys. There's a lot of people that need to go on their healing journeys, spiritual healing journey. And the first step with the healing journey is you must forgive the unforgivable. That's why there's no acrimonious atmosphere that I'm giving off, because I've already healed. I'm not hurt. I'm not traumatized. I've been through it. And I have compassion, especially for perpetrators, victimizers. And what this spiritual journey has taught me was that if you forgive the unforgivable, you will operate in the frequency of freedom. That's true freedom. The true freedom is within. It is not an external freedom. So when I talk to the people, I want them to understand, if we turn this all the way around, they call this the time of the sacred clown. The sacred clown is the one who reverses it, the one who is a jokester, the one who is inappropriate, that makes fun of the sacred. This is the time that we're in. It's ridiculous, the world we're living in now. That's how you know it's the time of the sacred clown. And if we do this correctly all together, one heart, one mind, one spirit, one prayer, we can be the empire that chokes the world and is that in its lower level and it's going to die. Or we could bring back a new spiritual covenant with the creator and change the whole world from Turtle Island. And that we can give hope to the world. And that's in several other prophecies. There's a lot of prophecies out there amongst our people. And they say if we do this correctly and people will listen, um, we can bring a utopian time where everybody operates in harmony with nature and with each other. And that's what I would like to see. So this is my offering to the world, saying, this is my most sacred stuff. It took me a long time to memorize this. And I have I have my shortcomings. We're not meant to be perfect, but we're perfect in our imperfection, but most of all, we're real. We're real people, authentic, original human beings. We never lost our connection with the creator and with those supernatural powers that exist within us and have always existed within our peoples. And until people really see that, they won't believe it. And I think that time will come in the next generation where people will see those supernatural powers that the Indian people, but they're just like nature. They're very fragile. They're not meant to be monetized. The universe, because you're using cosmic power, it resists empiricism, it resists observation, it resists materialist monetization of those things. And it won't allow you. There's rules to it. And those rules need to be followed. Those rituals, those protocols for those rituals, it's a delicate balance when you bring that power into this world. And most people don't have the subtlety of their mind. This is to help with their subtlety of their minds so that they can absorb and they could say, hey, I need to show a deep inner respect for the creator and the creation. I need to respect myself and I need to respect these original instructions. And I talk about the original instructions in the movie, in the film, and each one of the guardianships that were given to the four races of man and to the deep and abiding awe that we have of the Creator in our ways. So much so that we're willing to sacrifice ourselves in sometimes very painful ways. That the time coming is a time of the feminine divine. Not just the women, but the men that understand their own femininity. And hopefully it'll help people. I hope.
Jasper, I'm listening to you extraordinarily carefully, and I think the listeners who are joining us are as well. It's clear to me that you are speaking from a very deep and connected place. What I want to understand is more specifically how people of conscience can align themselves with these original instructions that you've received. What's our alignment with what you're saying?
Part of it is they're going to have to change almost everything about their lifestyle. That the circumstances of the socioeconomic system demands, the capitalism demands people to feed upon the earth and the resources of the earth and the people to change the way what they believe in, specifically the institutions. And that's going to be hard for them because they have been miseducated. The educational system has miseducated them. The spiritual systems, the religious systems don't make spiritual people. They make sheeple. The socioeconomic system makes slaves. because debt equals slavery. And if you have a debt, then you're a slave. Um, when I look at the judicial system, there is no justice there. Not for my people, not for people of color. And if you do the research in the justice system, you cannot separate socioeconomic level and race. And it disproportionately affects people of color and of lower socioeconomic status. That is not justice. And when we talk about justice, social justice, we need to think about how not to be punitive. Creator is not a punisher. Creator allows things to happen and natural law takes over. That real justice is number one, reparative and restorative. Number two, it restores ourselves to balance, returns the erring to the correct path. And so a part of it is everything that they've ever been taught has been a lie. And that's a hard pill to swallow for them. That's one of the great gifts of being the poorest people in America, the lowest socioeconomic rung, and the permanent underclass, is that we don't have illusions, if that makes sense. It's going to be hard for America to swallow that pill. And if they don't swallow it fast and change the way they think about things, because what you think and what you feel matters. It matters in the spirit world. And if you just want to make this world a better place and get along with nature, the people that are the most numerous in America still are white people. And they have a responsibility to change it for themselves and for their children and their grandchildren. And they've been told that. They cannot say they have not been told. And the people that are really in power are not your friend. And that system doesn't love you. And it's already hard for them to hear that. And I'm not trying to hurt them, but you asked me a direct question, so I'm giving you a direct answer. How do we find faith and happiness in the coming time? Is we need to reform. We need to invert the systems. Instead of us guys serving the systems, the human family serving the systems must turn around and serve us. And the people in power must sacrifice themselves. That's my best understanding of it. We need to invert the system, if that makes sense.
In the creation story, as you tell it from these oral teachings that you've received, you talk about how the more we understand the story of the universe, the better we can understand ourselves and this moment in time. And I'm wondering if you could pull out a couple of teachings from the creation story that will really help us better understand ourselves and this time. Maybe pick one or two aspects of the creation story.
One of the most important parts that I see people lacking is the most of everything that you learned in your life is part to whole thinking. But when you're a native and you're taught our culture and our ceremonies, it's whole to part. And part to whole, your everyday walk of life is part to whole, but your spiritual life is always whole to part. And you sandwich your understandings between whole to part and part to whole, but most people don't have whole to part, meaning holistically. Their perception of time, there's 11 dimensions in the tree of life. We talk about some of those things there. And the way people interact with time traps them. It traps, like I talked about chronos and chronology. That real understanding of time is that it's relative. That truth is really important. That changing your inner self is really important. And you have never been separated from the Creator. You only thought you were. Where's God? There's no God here. God isn't a thing. It's everything. Everything is connected. Everything is a web of life. and everybody's responsible for their thread. And people are looking, because they've been miseducated, they think logically and empirically, too empirically. They haven't learned to dream a dream, or and they're kind of spoiled by abundance. They're spoiled by their richness and their disconnection from nature. Go into nature. Nature will show you. Nature, the creation, the thunder beings in a storm will show you who's boss. The animals in nature will show you that there's a place for all living beings here. That the hegemony, the control, and the authority, that they have to give up their control. They have to let go and realize that this isn't about control. This is about living a dream, and that you are the dream. Whatever you want becomes possible when you think about it that way. Anything that you want, because the tree of life, not the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, but the tree of life is a wishing tree. You just have to go to the tree and ask the creator, this is what I want, creator. And the more sincere you are, the faster your answer will come. If you cry, if you're sincere, if you're just doing it voyeuristically, or it's like, oh yeah, they told me to come over here and ask you, tree of life, the creator, for this, so I am. But if you came in a real pitiful way, emotional way, that's the good thing about being in living in chaos. Is chaos can become a ladder for spiritual ascension. And when you're spoiled and your life is too easy and you're disconnected from nature and you don't know how to think from whole to part, begin the process. Learn a creation story. Not the one in the Abrahamic religions. Those are tiny. A real one that takes a long time to learn it. Like, that's why I was showing the creation story, because that's what I'm showing, is that there's a lot of knowledge about the creation before anything even became visible. That you can go to the creator sincerely. And if you make yourself pitiful with no food and water in nature, creator will hear you. And if you help each other, you'll get rewarded. If you give good energy, these are the sacred laws. The sacred laws, whatever you do to the whole, you do to yourself. That's why the healing journey is important. That's why forgiving the unforgivable is important. Because that negative energy will come back to you if you shoot it out into the air. Even a thought and even an emotion. If you do that, you will sometime have to face that same energy. And you don't want it. You want peace, you want harmony, you want to fulfill your purpose on earth, because every one of you has a purpose. Every human being was born with one. And that's why the purification is happening, because it's gotten so bad in the spirit world that people are not fulfilling their purpose. They're not. There's also very spiritual people that are born too. So many of the BLK, white and Asian people that are being born now are here to purify their families' bloodlines. And you know who it's going to be? It's going to be the black sheep in the family. It's not going to be your golden child. It's not going to be the successful person with a nice house and a doctorate and a brand new Mercedes Benz. It's going to be your outcast. It's going to be somebody that struggles with an addiction. It's going to be somebody that has taken the road less traveled, that is not socially acceptable. Those people are going to be the ones that are going to be sincere, that are going to pray, they were selected to come here on this earth to change their bloodline and to make it okay for the children to come that are still yet to come. And I know I'm jumping around here a little bit, but these things are all connected. You know, we as souls come from the spirit world before we come here. We make commitments and vows to the Creator. I will come down here and I will fulfill this. I will do this. I will take care of this for you, Creator, because that's what I'm supposed to do. And there's a great power and connection and a protection that goes with that. If you follow it, the Creator will make sure that everything works out good for you. As long as you remember the Creator, as long as you remember Mother Earth, and people don't think about these. It's not what you think about, it's what you don't think about that you need to think about. The raping of Mother Earth, how did that take place? Everybody can kind of conclude logically that it's mining. They can conclude logically that it's um, extracting oil and minerals from the earth. But one of the most powerful things people forget is they blew up 2,056 nuclear bombs in Mother Earth. Those are the people in power. That's the war machine that you got going on over there across the water right now. And your leaders are responsible for that. And there's a new type of leadership that's coming, and it's going to be a spiritual leadership. It's going to be real justice. It's not going to be punitive. It's going to be restorative and reparative. That's the best way I could explain it, if that makes sense. It's all connected with the creation. Aho.
It fills me with tremendous heart longing and a desire to align with your aspiration, Jasper Young Bear. Again, I want to let people know that Jasper shares the essence of the creation story that is part of the oral lineage he's received in a new medicine film, as well as a 4-part audio series you can watch and listen for free at thecreationstory.co. Jasper, I'm personally trying to digest what you're saying here in our conversation. And when I think of inverting my relationship, turning it upside down to all of the conventional systems that I'm a part of, I think, what am I supposed to do? Go live someplace, off the grid, start growing my own food, step out of the business I'm running and the whole system. Like, how do I contribute to that inversion when I'm part of the system?
Exactly. That's what most people are going to wrestle with. One of the things is non-participation. You feed it every time you go to the store. You buy gas. It's hard not to. How can you? It's almost impossible to. But if you put enough pressure on your leadership, if you there's very intelligent people out there that have solutions. For instance, the World Health Organization, um, the United States withdrew from it just lately. And in that time, since they withdrew, all of the cures for many sicknesses have come out. That's because they were being suppressed. We've had hydrolysis cars for over 100 years, but that's been suppressed. These powers that are in power, these billionaires, these policymakers, they have gone to a great degree and have been very disingenuous with people. People have to change what they believe in, because whatever you believe in, you give it power. And if you take away that belief, it ceases to have it. So if we can start small, the change isn't going to be big. It's going to start small. And there's many ways to do that. And we have to organize ourselves as a human family across all races, socioeconomics, belief systems, and present that to our leaders and say, this is what we want. And if you really want to make it speed up, help the Indians. Right now, they're on Indian reservations. ICE, Mexicanos, the 81 million Mexicanos and Chicanos in the United States, they're natives. They're Native Americans. You think there's no Native Americans? A lot of people think that. There's probably almost 90 million because there's many black people and white people that claim Native American blood. And in our people, my uncle told me this 30, 40 years ago. He said people will claim our our um our identity as Native Americans, and people will claim to be indigenous to this land, and it's happening. And to me, it's a it's a fact. But when we really look at it, the dark power falls, and the U.S. becomes fragmented, and that's what's going to happen. You will see martial law be trying to be implemented on this land. Where did I get that from? From the spirits. When they try to do that, Mother Earth will shake. When Mother Earth, the whole earth will shake. And when it does that, people will be confronted with what I'm saying. And I'm trying to say it in a nice way. But if they don't listen, it's not going to be nice.
Just to say, Jasper, you don't need to hold back in any way in this conversation. Not for me and not for our listeners. You don't have to try to soft pedal. I think I'm looking for actually to see clearly. That's how I would put it. I want to see clearly and to be able to avail myself, if you're willing, to see through your visionary perspective.
Okay. Well, I'll take off
Yeah.
the guide.
Yeah, as they say.
Mother Earth, when she healed herself through fire. And every memory of those atrocities committed upon my mother, Din Honas, Mother Earth, is she remembers it all. And the people that are striving to understand the spiritual walk of life haven't lived in nature. And nature can be very unforgiving. Nature doesn't soften the blow. And if you break those sacred laws, the consequences are quite harsh. And one of the things that's going to happen is that there's going to be a shortage of food, both on a human level planned that way, but also because that's what the prophecies say. During that time of the shortage of food, some people may become cannibalistic. Some of the spiritual things that are going to happen have never been seen before. We know the beings that live in the ground. We know some of them are cannibalistic. We know some of them are not our friends. When Mother shakes, some of them are going to come upon the earth. You're going to hear a terrible sound, a scary sound, loud. You're going to see a great wind. My grandma told me that. She cried when she told me, and she said, "What the Wabasha, grandson? There's a time coming. I'll be dead when it happens, but it will happen in your lifetime." And we've been waiting for generations for this. But when it happens, gather the people. But gather the people that have gone on their healing journeys. There will be 3 days of darkness upon this side of the earth. I don't know if it's the whole earth or just here. But during that time, many spirits will be released from the earth. That which is invisible right now will become visible. Even the gravity will be affected. That the sun will rise in the west and set in the east, which is basically what you call a polar shift. And it will be caused by the sunbursts. And if you look at Tushunko Witko, Crazy Horse's prophecy, he said, a time will come where the day will be brighter than day, meaning um, a sunburst. And those that are left are the Creator's children when ash falls from the sky. And the Creator will purify everything. All the things you worry about now, um, plastics and cancers and sicknesses and money, everything will be wiped away and a new beginning will come to be. And spiritually, everybody will turn towards the Indian people because they know we know. We know because the ancestors, we never quit having the ceremonies. And the ancestors told us these things. And the ancestors, many of them have been dead for hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of years. And you have to expand what you think ancestors are. The morning star is my dad. The evening star is my mother. The chief of the stars is the North Star. There's many stars, but there are relatives. There are people, our people. We treat them like we treat our relatives. Be good to them, talk to them, sing for them, gift them, feed them, give them something to drink. You don't treat them any different than you treat anybody else. There's a lot of propaganda about the Indian people. But we are not Stone Age people. We have a different technology. And we have spiritual technology. And this isn't about race. This is about consciousness. The battlefield is consciousness. The battlefield is the unseen world. It's what you think. Some of the most powerful people that I have ever heard of are the Irish travelers who have been genocided and oppressed in their own land for 950 years in Ireland. They still speak Cant and Gaelic and one of the other languages. They still have clans. If Ireland would want to save themselves, they should turn to the Irish travelers. Australia needs to change the way they interact with the First Nations people, the Aboriginal peoples of Australia. Aotearoa, New Zealand, the Maori people must be treated differently. The Indian people, the red man of North and South America must be treated differently. It must be valued. Because if you don't value nature and the people that take care of it, that's really the litmus test. How we go, we are the indicator species. Whenever you look at an environment, there's one species. If you study that one, it will tell you the healthiness of that population, that context, that given geographical area. And guess who it is for America? It's the Indian people. It's the knowledge that we carry, you know. Part of it is like, we have wildfires every year. Why didn't we have wildfires like the way we do now for thousands of years? Because we always burnt the land. That's why you hear of the Blackfoot Nation. The Lakotas have a band called the Sichangus, the Burnt Thigh People. You go down to the Kiowa people, and they'll have Blacklegging Society, different things like that. Because we burnt it. We knew how to take care of it. We didn't overhunt. People they've been studying us. The wolves that went into Yellowstone healed the rivers. If you really want this land back, you're going to have to reverse engineer the genocide of the bison. The bison are the greatest powers that will restore the land to health. And that was evidenced in Texas where they brought 5,000 bison to the Texas desert. And guess what? It's not a desert anymore. It's flourishing. If you change the way that you think about it and the way that you practice it and the way that you support it, how can, I like that question. How can you change it? You change it by first changing your insides. Because your sense of reality doesn't come from out here. It only appears to be that way. The real reality comes from within you. You could change a thought, you could change an emotion, you could restate something to yourself. You could forgive. You could begin to become loving. In order for that love to become outward, it's really going to be about love. It sounds hokey. I know it does. But when it comes down to it, we're going to heal through love, through mutual affection for the land, for each other as a human family. And I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
You are, and it doesn't sound hokey to me. I actually feel lifted up when you say it comes down to love, because that feels like something I can do. It's in my capacity moment to moment. And I imagine other people may feel that way too.
yeah, it's and the people that have the most power to change it, they're white people. They're white people in powerful positions. But a lot of them are yes men. You're congressional, you know. We live in a fascist state. We've been living in a fascist state. Most fascism is the relationship between government and business. And in most of them, it's the government dictating to the businesses. But in this empire, in this fascist state, it's the business dictating to the government. And it's your capitalist business leaders that are responsible for the collective state of America, the people, the fear. It's your military industrial complex. It's your prison industrial system. It's your food, the lack of food sovereignty, the suppression. You have to go to your people and tell them what they're doing wrong and say, we need to change this. We need to change it yesterday. There was a chief called Chief Oren Lyons of the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois Confederacy. And he went to the climate change conferences, the international ones, for years. And he said, you haven't changed anything. And you'll ask me to come here again and you won't change anything. And that's true. They haven't changed anything. Maybe I'm talking in generalities, but here on the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation, change doesn't happen very often. And we need to think about that as a collective. If my voice reaches them, I have my ideas. I could change it right now. How would you do that? Geez, you have to know the history. 1913, Jekyll Island. You have to look at when the Anti-Defamation League was created, the IRS, the Federal Reserve, and corporations having habeas corpus. Those are your oppressors. And that sounds pretty rough, but I'm telling the way I see it. If you were to take away habeas corpus from corporations, to do away with corporations as a whole, take away their habeas corpus, take away the Federal Reserve and the IRS. Those are your kings. We Native people, we never had kings, and we never will. We don't have messiahs either. Everybody's a messiah, and everybody is responsible for themselves. And right now, people are protesting all over America. They're calling it the No Kings protests. Most of the people are saying the same thing, but the leadership doesn't listen and never has. Not till your billionaires fall, not till your banking system changes. And everybody can talk big about spirituality until your bank account's empty. Then we'll find out how you feel about yourself. If it was empty, I've never been on a vacation in my life. People talk about, I go to Cancun, I go to Aruba. I don't have any money for that. I got 9 kids. I'm not poor compared to a lot of my people. But I love life more than I love my wallet. And that's going to be the greatest hurdle, both in the leadership change and the changes in the individual people saying, what can I do? Is go support Native American ceremonies. Go support a place to belong for everybody. Help create a platform. This is what I would say. If I could have everything that I want, I would have a place in time and space where multiple generations, multiple belief systems, all of the races of the human family can come together and see what is possible spiritually. Because the future is spirituality and feminine spirituality at that. It's not about government. It's not about patriarchy. It's not about materialism. It's the actual opposite of what it is right now. And if you really want to support the change in the world, feminine, spiritual, sustainable communities. And I know that's quite a big thing to say. So I'll just leave it there. Aho.
I notice in this conversation, Jasper, that I don't feel a lot of inspiration to ask you a lot of questions. I'm more listening. I feel like listening and receiving what you have to share and creating an opportunity for that versus, well, what about this? And what about this? And what my mind is just not doing that. I wonder though, as we end, if we could end in some place of shared prayer and direct connection with the creative forces. And if you might lead us in that in whatever way feels natural to you, in your native language, in any way that feels organic and appropriate to you.
I'll sing a song. And the song says, Atna adiach shiti auch shiti wako shiti na noku. Din hu din hunas not chichidu jitu. Dawadu din hunas dunahe. That's what the song says. And it says, Mother and Father of the universe, they are together one. They are talking as one. They are waymaking as one. All life throughout Mother Earth, it's good. And that's what the words say. And this is a prayer for the unity of all the human family, the male and female aspects of the universe, the all life on this planet. We're responsible for it. When we pick up our sacred instruments, my teacher told me this. He said, you don't pick them up for yourself. You don't pick them up for your family, your tribe, your race. When you pick up these sacred instruments and you're going to walk with them the rest of your life, you pick them up for all life, all sentient beings in the universe, both visible and invisible. So I'll sing the song. Atna atiya, katna atiya, shitiya, shitiwa go, shitina no go, hey ya hiya, na che che ro chitu way, tawarud, din hu nas tu na hey yo. Hata atea, hata atea, shetea, shetewa go, shetena no go, hey ya hiya, na che che ro chito yo, hey ya hiya, tawarud, din hu nas tu na hey yo. Hey yo. Atnatia, atnatia, shetia, shetiwa go, shetina no go, hey yo hiya, na che che ro chito yo, hey yo hiya, tawarud, din hu nas tu na hey yo, hey yo. Atna hatia, shetia, shetiwa go, shetina no go, hey yo hiya, na che che ro cheto yo, hey yo hiya, tawarud, din hu nas tu na hey yo. Hey yo. May the Creator bless all of us. Wherever you're at, whoever's listening to this, act for the Creator and put the Creator in the center of your life. Live your whole life around the Creator, and the Creator will answer all of your prayers. Act like you're already enlightened, because you are. You only think that you're not. Act as a responsible ancestor of all your children and your children's children and all the generations to come. Make them proud of you. My grandpa, my grandma, this is what she did for us. This is how they fixed it for us. This is how they believed for us. Be that ancestor. If you don't remember your ancestors, be the ancestor that will be remembered. Make spiritual decisions. Sometimes they're not logical. A lot of times they're not. But make them anyway. That's what I want to tell the human family. Have a heart and mind for each other. Put the Creator in the center of your life. And be your best version of you. Aho.
Jasper Young Bear, whose Indian name is Red-Headed Woodpecker, a member of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation. He is the featured teacher in a new medicine film and a 4-part audio series called The Creation Story. You can watch and listen for free at thecreationstory.co. Jasper Young Bear, it has been an honor, a supreme honor to have this time with you. Thank you so much for being direct and true. Thank you.
Thank you. You did a great job. I appreciate you very much. May you have a great day.